Hello everybody, my name is Emmy Hashimi, the author of Abdul Ali Faiq's narrative, co-founder of A Government in Exile. I am a doctoral student in the field of education. What motivated me to conduct this interview with Mr. Abdul Ali Faiq was after my professor introduced a project to the class where we were asked to interview a leader. As a Tajik, a person from an Iranian of the East background, the first person who came to my mind was Abdul Ali Faiq, the co-founder of the United States of Democratic Federal of Khorasan. I've had many conversations about nation building with Mr. Faiq, and he was extremely passionate about the cause, which is mostly based on human rights for the marginalized people of Khorasan, a nation which was named Afghanistan by the English. In this portion of my presentation, I'm going to provide you with a thematic analysis. I have decided to take the thematic approach to sharing Abdul Ali Faiq's narrative to provide clarity to his journey from childhood into adulthood, with gaining the confidence and courage towards establishing an exiled government. Abdul Ali Faiq's story is inspiring for a social justice cause and towards building a just society for a marginalized people who have almost become invisible. I will be providing an analysis for each of the episodes through sub-themes with excerpts from the interview and how his story relates to the readings on poverty and leadership, which we had discussed in this doctoral class. Episode 1, Born in War, Cultivating Courage and Bravery in a War Zone. Abdul Ali Faiq's younger years is captivating and moving to the human spirit, with understanding his social justice plight in the face of adversity. His close-knit, harmonic relationship with his mom, who was the center of his inspiration, touches every human heart. In the interview, Abdul Ali Faiq did not provide the exact date of his birth, since it was not documented or recorded, which paints a clear picture of his harsh reality and living conditions from the time of birth, where the birth of children were unknown due to their parents' lack of literacy and the government's lack of care for the people living outside the capital, especially in the non-Pashtun or Afghan regions. When speaking about his birth, he only noted, "I was born in north of Khorasan in 1980. Hence, from the time he departed from the warm womb of his loving mother and entered the burning fire of war and conflict, the tribalist government of the Afghan or Pashtun identity forced him to be invisible, like millions of other non-Afghan Pashtun people living in the northern and western regions. However, the hardships and adversities he was forced to face transformed him to become unbreakable, like a diamond under extreme heat and pressure." He stated in the interview, "Those days reflect my childhood, where we thought there is one thing that's war and one thing that's conflict. However, those suffering and struggles and conflicts made me a very strong and very responsible person." Abdul Ali Faiq's conflict-filled childhood mirrors Matthew Desmond's Poverty by America, a book written in 2023, where poverty and adversity is systematically created by the system. As Desmond describes in his book about how poverty takes people's humanity away, the tribalist government inside Khorasan's nation had established an unjust and deficit-filled system where people were forced to remain poverty-stricken even if they owned a business, like Mr. Faiq's father, who owned a small business. Hence, people like Mr. Faiq were forced to remain in a constant state of struggle because that's how the establishment had designed it. Episode 2: Enlightenment through Education, Utilizing Education Towards Social Justice. At the young age of 14, when most kids in Western nations are busy being teenagers, Mr. Faiq was forced to make life-changing decisions with the advice of his family to leave his homeland for a better opportunity and education in Tripoli, Libya. He noted in his interview, "I left Khorasan with little experience and no knowledge about university, academy, and study or research. There I found another big obstacle in front of me about Arabic language, where I spent 8 years of my golden time in Libya to study Arabic language, Islamic studies, and learn about pre-Islamic history of Arabs. Even though Libya had its own set of problems as a nation, under the government of Gaddafi, it appeared significantly better than a constant war and conflict-filled environment of Mr. Faiq's home nation of Khorasan. Perhaps the only way for him to receive a better education. But despite the hardships he faced as a very young foreigner on a new continent in Africa, thousands of miles away from his beloved family, he survived through the many years of struggle in which he learned Arabic completely. Those experiences reshaped him into a highly intelligent and sophisticated man. In the interview he stated, "Today I can say I spent more than £1 million on myself to get an education, Kingston, Oxford, and self-improvement workshops in Great Britain. But I'm very happy, very positive, and very optimistic with what we are doing for our generations to come. Now I have a lot of qualifications in my life and believe there is no limitations and there is no finish line." Mr. Faiq's empowerment through education once again reminds me of Desmond's personal experience living in poverty, where he used education as the ladder to climb out of poverty and build a better life for himself. I see many similarities between Desmond's story and Mr. Faiq's because they both used education for empowerment to get their voices heard for a social justice cause. Episode 3: Nation Building and the Meaning of Khorasan, Utilizing Adverse Life Experiences and Education to Build a Nation. After many years of dedicated effort, Mr. Faiq and his team were able to establish the United States of Democratic Federal of Khorasan. Mr. Faiq stated in his interview, "On the 22nd of May, 2022, a group of entrepreneurs, enterprise holders, businessmen and women, researchers, students, publications, social activists, women and animal activists established the United States of Democratic Federal of Khorasan, a government in exile. I am one of the co-founders of USDFK. We have a lot of experience and we will accumulate a lot of experience from divergent places and divergent backgrounds." Mr. Faiq's many years of continuous struggle for his rights as a descendant of indigenous Iranian people, today called Tajiks, motivated his actions with establishing USDFK. All those injustices he faced antagonized him against those in power. But instead, he constructed something positive by investing all his time and effort towards positive change, where all people, regardless of their ethnicity or background, can live in freedom, equality, and prosperity, where people could have the right to resources, jobs, and education, where people do not have to sell their children or their organs out of desperation. In the interview, he stated, "I was motivated to take this major responsibility using my negative experiences, unhappy days, and unhappy childhood as motivation to make society better for others. I observe in Mr. Faiq's narrative the sensitization of wisdom, intelligence, and creativity, as mentioned in Robert J. Sternberg's article, The Person versus the Situation in Leadership. Sternberg states in his article, I believe the three key components of leadership are wisdom, intelligence, and creativity synthesized. The basic idea is that one needs these three components working together in order to be a highly effective leader. According to Sternberg's model, Mr. Faiq can be described as an effective leader because he is utilizing all three with his nation-building efforts. We can observe in his narrative the accumulation of wisdom from an early age, combined with his academic knowledge and intelligence, which has resulted in the creation of USDFK, an exiled government. Although Mr. Faiq does not believe in calling himself a leader, he is one according to Sternberg's model. Episode 4. Coping with Conflict and Leaders Who Inspired Him, following in the footsteps of great leaders. Conflict in Mr. Faiq's perspective is inevitable. However, according to his experiences and academic knowledge, he believes that we can prevent conflict through transparency, morality, integrity, accountability, and respect. Mr. Faiq aims to avoid conflict at all costs on perpetual passion. Mr. Faiq believes in a true democracy where people are at the forefront of making the decisions. He believes that the voices of citizens in a democratic society are very important, and that a democratic society based on pluralism would prevent conflict. In the interview, he stated, when it comes to a pluralistic society, there's people and the citizens making decisions. We have referendum, elections, and a voting system. However, Mr. Faiq believes that some conflict will happen, but that will not prevent them from their challenging responsibility of establishing a government against extremists and extremist ideologies. He is the type of a leader who has decided and will not quit until achieving his objectives. He noted in his interview, do you think Martin Luther King Jr., when he said, I have a dream, was it easy? It was not easy. And when John F. Kennedy came to bring a change, do you think it was easy? It was not easy. When Malcolm X came and he said, I want to bring change, do you think it was easy? Of course, it was not easy, but they paid the price. They are legends now. They are icons now. They are heroes not only for Americans, they are icons for us, for humanity. Hence, the individuals who have inspired Mr. Faiq's journey towards social justice and the establishment of USDFK were very passionate about their cause. Some of the people he mentioned were Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Ahmad Shah Massoud, the ethnic Tajik hero from Khorasan who defeated Soviet communism in Central Asia and Eastern Europe. Also, he mentioned inspirational speakers like John C. Maxwell, an American author, speaker, and pastor, George Washington, and himself for not giving up on his dreams all these years. As a result, the Constitution of USDFK is designed like the Constitution of the United States of America, with many social justice components for the freedom of all people. Today, Mr. Faiq is the type of a leader who's bringing a paradigm shift, changing people's mindset. Mr. Faiq is making his achievements through many public social media platforms by continuously educating the people about their history and identity. Also, he is empowering unheard or silent voices from Khorasan and the voices of the Khorasani diaspora from around the world. His leadership style connects with how Howard Gardner has defined leadership in his book, Leading Minds. as leadership as the capacity of an individual or group to change the thoughts, feelings, and actions of a significant number of individuals. Finally, my own personal reflection. The interview with Mr. Faiq was an excellent opportunity for me to learn about a revolutionary leader like him, who has risen from the ashes of war and conflict and establishing an exiled government for the preservation of his rich indigenous land and identity, which was robbed from them and politicized during the period of English colonialism in the late 1800s. He's another real-life example, like Desmond, who has climbed the ladder of success with education as a tool towards social justice and for a humanistic cause. Also, Mr. Faiq is considered a real leader, according to Sternberg's model, through synthesizing his wisdom, intelligence, and creativity and establishing USDFK. The analysis of this interview with Mr. Faiq allowed me to think critically about his social justice efforts on a deeper level, his character as a leader, and his plight rising from adversity is comparable to many social justice leaders who had fought for the rights and freedoms of their people. Hence, interviewing Mr. Faiq, a real-life leader, was an empowering experience. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen.
بی تو همیشه با هم شانه به شانه گشتم عشق یگانه ای من از تو نشانه ای من بی تو نمک نداره شعر و ترانه سرزمین من خسته خسته از جفایت سرزمین من به سرود و به صدای سرزمین من دردمند و به دوای سرزمین من سرزمین من خسته خسته